record. Okay, hey guys, I think that we're on part 14 of Wishtree, so that's amazing, and that means it's taken us 14 days. So today we are on chapter 44, page 173. All right. Early that evening, Francesca stopped by the blue and green houses. My houses. One with a black door, one with a brown door. One with a yellow mailbox, one with a red mailbox. She knocked on each door. She explained her plans for me. Both sets of parents said they understood. They would be sorry to see me go, but it would be a relief to see an end to wishing day, wouldn't it? And my absence would mean more sunlight in their living rooms and fewer acorns underfoot. Okay, at least let me make a deposit on the parents, Bongo grumbled. More sunlight? The nerve! And you're asking for less oxygen, people? Less beauty? Thanks for defending me, Bongo, I said, but no depositing. Samar and Stephen were not so understanding. They ran after Francesca as she crossed the lawn. Samar pulled on her sweater. You have to listen to us, Samar said. You can't cut down that tree. Oh, I can't, Francesca inquired. And why is that, dear? Because, Stephen said, panting, it's alive. Oh, I'm quite aware of that, Francesca said. It's a common trait of trees. She paused, peering down at the ribbon around Samar's neck. Why, I know that key, she said. I recognize the ribbon. A crow gave it to me. No kidding, a crow. Smart birds. Samar slipped the ribbon over her head and handed the key to Francesca. I don't want that old thing, she said, giving it back. You keep it. It just made me remember. Oh, it's not important, but it opens a diary. My great-grandmother Maeve kept a journal after she moved here. Oh, so that's what it's for. Well, where is it? Where's that journal? Stephen asked. Attic, maybe? Or no, it's probably in the shed behind Samar's house. Got a lot of old family stuff stashed away in there. She gave a wry smile. Unless it all floated away. Backyard's pretty wet right now, which, by the way, is one of the reasons it's time for this tree to say goodbye. Samar wiped away tears. You don't understand. This tree, it's almost like it's human. That's sweet, Francesca patted Samar's head. But honey, it's just a tree. She squared her shoulders. Now, I must go feed Lewis and Clark. I can hear them complaining from all the way down here. I've got a busy day ahead of me tomorrow. As she moved to leave, Stephen stepped in front of her. Before you go, his voice firm, just listen. He turned to me. Say something, Red, he instructed. Please, Tree, Samar pleaded. I kept quiet. What more was there to say? Francesca looked from Stephen to Samar and began again. Children, she said, perhaps those video games you like to play have addled your brains. Please talk, Tree, Stephen said. Silence. It can talk, Samar told Francesca. Real words. It told us a story about Maeve. Francesca, for just a moment, hesitated. She looked at me. You mean metaphorically, of course. The tree seemed to talk to you. The leaves whispered and so on. It told us about the hollow and the baby. Francesca blinked. The baby? Yes, the abandoned baby. Francesca paused. Of course, I've told that family story before. You probably heard it from a neighbor. Stephen shook his head. No, ma'am. We heard it from the tree. Oh, my, said Francesca. She waved a hand in front of her face. You're wearing me out. You two. I'm so very glad my parenting days are behind me. Listen here. You get a good night's sleep, understand? Or maybe some counseling. As quickly as she could, Francesca made her way across the lawn, her shoes caked with mud. Francesca, Stephen called. It's just a tree, dears. Repeat after me. It's just a tree. I was wondering if we could go look for that diary. She glanced over her shoulder. Maeve's diary? Be my guest. If it's not underwater by now. She held up her palms. Just no more tree craziness. You hear me? When Francesca was back in her house, Stephen and Samar looked at me accusingly. Why didn't you talk? Samar demanded. Because it was foolish. Because I wasn't supposed to. Because... Looking defeated, Stephen and Samar trudged away. They hadn't gone far when Samar paused and turned to Stephen. Something happened today, she said. People at school were being weird. They were talking about me and whispering and passing notes even. She narrowed her eyes. You didn't tell anyone, did you? About what happened last night? Of course not. Then I wonder what was going on, Samar said. You're probably imagining things. I don't think so. I mean, I'm used to people talking about me, and I'm used to them being mean, but this was different. Things aren't always what they seem. Stephen smiled sympathetically. Come on, let's go check out that shed. I watched the two of them head towards Samar's backyard. They were talking, laughing, becoming friends perhaps. Maybe I hadn't been so foolish after all. Chapter 45. Trees don't sleep. Not like people do, or animals. But we do rest. Fortunately, that night, rest eluded me. I was filled with questions about the coming day, of course. But most of all, I didn't want to miss a moment of what little life I had left. I wanted to drink in the stars. Ooh, that's a cool page. So, you know how most of the pages in the book, of course, are like this. But this is talking about the night before wishing day, when Red decides to stay up all night. I don't know, I think that's cool. I wanted to feel the fuzzy wings of the owlets. I wanted to stretch my roots just a tiny bit further before the night was through. I wanted to indulge in some quiet contemplation about life and love and what it all meant. I wanted to philosophize. I've been thinking, I said to Bongo. There's no point in worrying about tomorrow. It will come soon enough. Red, Bongo said. Too much wise old tree? Bongo paused. She looked at me for a long time. Never, she said. Never, ever. Too much wise old tree. Bongo settled into home plate. The world was quiet and calm. Want to hear a tree joke? I asked. Is it funny? Probably not, I admitted. Then probably no. What's a tree's least favorite month? I don't know. What month? September. I paused. Because, you know, Red, Bongo interrupted. As always, no need to explain. We didn't speak much after that. Turned out, I didn't need to talk about life and love and what it all meant. It was enough to watch the sky freckled with stars, to smell the sweet, wet earth, to listen to the beating hearts of the little ones I could keep safe, at least for one more night. Okay, so I can stay on task. I have to read 2 more pages. 46. Saturday morning dawned clean and cool. Even before the sun made itself known, the animals and owls departed the safety of my limbs. Each family had found a new home, all in nearby trees on the same block. The skunks were going to remain under their porch. It made me happy to know that everyone would be staying in the neighborhood. One by one, they nuzzled me, whispering their goodbyes. Their babies sniffled, especially Harold and Rose Petal and Flashlight. The parents tried to put on brave faces, but their trembling voices gave them away. It was awful, but I was glad to get it over with. I've always hated goodbyes. Bongo, for her part, insisted on staying with me to the bitter end. I knew better than to argue with her. By 6 in the morning, Stephen and Samar were sitting together on Samar's porch. By 7, Sandy and Max had arrived. They parked across the street and sat in their cruiser, sipping coffee and eating donuts. By 8, 3 local reporters had arrived, armed with microphones and fancy equipment. They took video of the word leave. They talked about its meaning and how to change the feel of the neighborhood. They also talked about me, the doomed Wishtree. I didn't like the word doomed, but I had to admit it was accurate reporting. Francesca came at 8:30, carrying a cup of tea and dragging a small wooden ladder, the one she put out every year for the wishmakers. She went back home and promptly returned with Lewis and Clark on their kitty leashes. They were not cooperative. And then the wishes began. A toddler on her dad's shoulders, reaching high. An old woman aided by 2 young girls. Neighbor after neighbor, many of whom I'd seen pass by over the years. Wish after wish after wish. Some on scraps of colorful fabric, many on paper tied with a ribbon or a string. A few socks, 2 t-shirts, and 1 pair of underwear. You see my husband back there? What's he doing? He's going boating. At first, people came in small groups or one by one. But then something changed. The trickle of people became a deluge. Many of them were kids from the elementary school, but there were parents and teachers too. 12 kids, 50, 100, and more. Every person seemed to be carrying an index card. Each card had a hole punched in it, with a piece of string looped through the hole. Stephen high-fived many of them, hugged the principal. He waved to his teacher. Samar just sat on the steps with her parents, a quizzical expression on her face. One by one, the children tied their wishes to me. The principal and assistant principal and the janitor and the teachers all helped. My boughs had never been more laden. My heart had never been more hopeful. Because as each child, as each neighbor, as each stranger placed a wish upon me, they looked at Samar and her parents, and they said the same thing. Stay.